All right, we are officially recording. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's WellSense Health Plan sponsored class. My name is Paige. I am a registered dietitian and culinary educator with the Boston Medical Center Teaching Kitchen. Tonight, I am coming to you live from my own teaching kitchen in my own home. We do have an in-person teaching kitchen at BMC. If you're interested in any classes, if you're a patient there, or community classes, keep an eye out on that BMC community class calendar, that how you found this class. Um, if there's things in the in-person kitchen, we'll have it posted there. And as always, please always come to our WellSense Health Plan classes. We do have other community-facing classes that are virtual as well that you're welcome to come to. This is a cooking demonstration class, so we're going to go through a recipe together. If you have questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to put them in the chat. I know we are recording, so if you are comfortable with your voice being recorded, you're welcome to come off mute. I'll do my best to answer them as we go through the demo. I did say this in the beginning of the class. This recipe is traditionally a grilled recipe, as it was advertised, but we're going to pivot and use the oven because it's a little rainy outside. So I'm going to try to stay inside with my electronic devices. So we're going to get started. Um, we're gonna kick it off with our marinade, and I will just full disclaimer, I already have the chicken marinated. We'll make the marinade together so you can see a yogurt marinade, but the chicken needed to be marinated for 20 to 30 minutes at least, so that way the marinade did its job. I think someone came off mute. Sorry, folks. All right, hopefully that raining noise stopped for everyone. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start our yogurt marinade. This is a really cool way to marinate your meat because it's going to keep your meat incredibly juicy and tenderizes it more gently without it becoming too mushy. And that's a common issue with harsh citrus or vinegar marinades. And especially since we're using something like a chicken thigh that is naturally really tender, we don't really need it to get super marinated. We're honestly just really trying to break it down a little bit to get that flavor in it. There is lactic acid in yogurt, and it's going to slowly break down those meat proteins. And the dairy, it's so thick, it's going to really lock in some moisture. And it does kind of act as like a binder to keep those herbs and spices and other ingredients stuck to the chicken. So we'll make this marinade together, and then we will magically have marinated chicken afterwards. So we are going to need some whole milk plain Greek yogurt. I love plain Greek yogurt because it's really versatile. You can make it sweet, you can make it savory, you can add a honey, you can add a mashed banana to make it banana flavored for a yogurt parfait. Plain Greek yogurt is super versatile. Now, the whole milk version has less tang to it, I would say, than something like non-fat yogurt. So if you struggle with plain non-fat Greek yogurt, try the whole milk yogurt. It is going to be higher in calories and fat. Excuse me, but it does have some good added protein here, about 17 grams per 3/4 cup. So again, like I said, it's got a little bit more of a neutral taste, but we're going to go in with about half of a cup of Greek yogurt. Here's my half a cup. All right, half a cup. All right, half a cup of yogurt. We're going to go in with about 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. And as I said, I did put the recipe in the chat, and you probably did maybe receive it. I know some folks might not have, but if you're looking to follow along, it's in the chat there. Let me know if you don't see it. We're going to get some lemon zest. Lemon zest is really going to lock in the essence of the lemon without that really strong acidity, but we're also going to juice the lemon. So we're going to get the best of both worlds. We're going to get the little bit of acid to help actually break down the proteins of the chicken, allow those flavors to seep in, but we also want that like lemon essence. I love doing the zest and the juice. You get the most bang for your buck. All right, we're gonna go in with about 1 lemon juiced. Now, if you'll notice here, I'm not using a lot of measuring devices. Like I didn't measure my lemon juice, nor did I really measure my olive oil. I'm kind of eyeballing this because it's a marinade. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate. Got a little lemon seed there. We want it to be as close as we can. I am just going to check the chat really quick. I see a notification. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Tusi. Yeah, yogurt marinades are really common in Mediterranean culture. And they're honestly a really great marinade. If you're used to, those traditional vinegar-based or acid-based marinades, I really love yogurt marinades. Really lock in the flavor. We're doing some shredded garlic here. It does say to mince it, but I love when I have a zester out to just honestly zest right in the bowl. It really unlocks lots of flavor. Your garlic will definitely be way more potent prepared this way than maybe mince. The more you really break down the garlic, the more that kind of like tangy flavor shines through. All right, we need some chopped dill. So we need about 1 tablespoon. And we're going to need some dill for our herby yogurt sauce. So we're using this yogurt in multiple ways. And honestly, like I said, I'm making this marinade knowing that I already have a marinade completed with the chicken in the fridge. You could really just use this as a dip as well if there's no raw protein in it. All right, we're going to do a nice pinch of kosher salt. We'll do some freshly ground pepper. And I need about 1 teaspoon of dried oregano and 1 teaspoon of paprika. Eyeballing it there. And for some notes for this recipe, if you are baking it, if you scroll up in the recipe, it does give you some instructions on what to do if you're baking. So I went ahead and I read that prior to class, and it's going to have us bake at 425 degrees if you're not grilling. We're going to do our chicken first for roughly 15-ish minutes, and then we're going to add the vegetables to be finished on the same tray. So this is what our marinade's going to look like. And when I actually added the chicken, I took some gloves, and you don't have to use gloves if you don't have them. You can use your bare hands. And I really rubbed the chicken with the marinade so that it was completely coated. And we want to let our chicken be coated with marinade for roughly at least 20 minutes to really let it work its magic and get in those flavors. Now I finished my marinade at about, I think 550. So it's been almost 30 minutes now, so it's probably perfectly ready for us to get it out. And I am looking here. I think, Marcia, I do see your hand is up. I wasn't sure if you had a question, but you're welcome to unmute or put your question in the chat if you had one and I missed it. Maybe your hand's just up by accident, but if you do have a question, please let me know.
I did have a question, but it was just about like the type of yogurt that you use. And I think you kind of answered it because you said like you can use like a variety. It doesn't matter if it's like whole fat or like a low fat, no fat, or if it's like lactose free or anything like, does that make a difference?
So that's a really great question. I personally haven't really played around with it, but I absolutely think you can because it still has that like lactic acid that's doing the majority of the work there. I think the main difference is you're going to notice like non-fat yogurt is going to be a bit tangier. It might have more of a particular flavor to it versus I think that whole milk is more neutral. You might need to add a little bit more oil just to kind of like make it coat a little bit better because sometimes the thicker yogurt with the more like if it's whole milk, it might spread a little bit easier, but everyone is different. I'm thinking of like I've played around with like coconut yogurt before. It sometimes is a bit more watery, so it might need more oil, but I absolutely think you can play around with it. I think you might have different final results, but I think like in essence, it will all do the same thing.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Great question. So here is our marinade. We're going to pretend that I'm going to grab chicken. And I did grab some chicken that has now been officially marinated. So we're going to grab our sheet pan and we're going to get our chicken out and lay it out. All right, my oven is at 425 degrees. I have some parchment paper down here. All right, so I'm just gonna kind of make sure they're nice and coated and spread out. And like I said, I'm working with chicken thighs here. Different cuts of meat are gonna have different cooking times. These are a bit fattier, which is gonna be super delicious, but just something to be mindful of, especially when we're marinating. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pop this in the oven and then we're gonna work on prepping our vegetables. I'm gonna give my hands a quick wash since I was touching chicken even though I had gloves on, so I'll be right back. All right, so now we have some vegetables to prep and we have a yogurt dip to make. Um, Oops, I'm just gonna check the chat here. I see Johnny had a question. Okay, so his question is, how is it that this marinade works so quickly? I've been using a balsamic and soy-based marinade and it takes a week. Any less and the flavor does not penetrate the inside of the chicken. We use breast that has been banged with a spicy hammer first. So really great question, Johnny. Chicken breast is almost exclusively like non-existent with fat. It is the most leanest cut of the chicken, making it going to be a bit tougher. If you think about, and this is the analogy that sometimes helps in my head, if you think about a bodybuilder's muscle that is just pure muscle, how hard that is, versus if you think of, a little baby, like a chubby little baby, how soft that is. If you think about like the lean chicken breast, that is like the hard muscle. And then the chicken thigh is a little bit more marbled with some intramuscular fat. Um, your chicken is going to require way longer marinating. Um, and honestly, depending on the acid ratio. So this wasn't really a marinade that we're trying to break down and make more tender because we're using chicken thighs. It's more of a marinade to create a seal for moisture and to add flavor. So that's the benefit of the yogurt is it kind of goes on like some paint versus those acid vinegary based ones. Sometimes things that are naturally tougher like chicken breast, um, I'm thinking of like roasts, like something that you have to, like a beef roast that you have to put into the slow cooker that takes a really long time to cook. The marinade is great for that. Like I'm thinking of a rump roast. You either need to cook it low and slow or you need to marinate it, or maybe like, as you said, banged it with a spiky hammer to kind of like break down those muscle fibers. So it's all about how much muscle fibers is there. Um, Hopefully that created a little bit of clarity. If you were using chicken breasts, again, That marinade is not necessarily like we're not trying to tenderize it like I would with like a vinaigrette-based marinade where I'm trying to make it super tender. I'm kind of creating like this paint where I lock it in because you saw how thick it was coated, especially just like the way that the yogurt is in general versus if you think about a vinegar-based marinade, it's really liquidy, so it kind of pulls off. Um, and the longer, excuse me, the longer I marinated that, the better. But I will say for something like a chicken thigh, you can marinate it too long and it will get mushy. So Lisa says, did you poke little holes with a fork in the chicken before marinating it? I've done that with steaks, but was wondering if I should do it with the chicken thighs too. Lisa, I did not. Honestly, when it comes to chicken thighs, I think less is more. I have marinated chicken thighs like overnight and I have made them too mushy because they are super, super naturally fattier. They're not the lean part of the chicken, so they're going to be a bit more flavorful. And because they have more fat in them, um, when they cook, it kind of helps capture that moisture and it's almost like they're self-basting themselves. Like chicken breasts are really, really lean, so what's cooking out of them is water. And if you lose too much water, it gets really rubbery. With our chicken thighs, we can kind of render down that fat but not cook it out completely. Okay, see another question. It's only yogurt we have to use. Could you clarify your question a little bit? Um, I guess I'm not sure like in what context for yogurt we have to use. Jessica, yes, I can put the recipe back in the chat. Oh, yes, you can use other things to marinades. There's lots of different marinades out there. This is just a yogurt-based marinade. And as somebody else asked earlier, different types of yogurt could work. The ingredients of a quote unquote marinade, I think of them, they almost remind me of like a salad dressing or a dip. Not everything can be a marinade, so that's something you might have to look into. There's a lot of like acid and oil based marinades, and there's yogurt marinades. Um, but yes, you can absolutely use other things to marinate. Yeah, Tusi, absolutely. I think chicken thighs are a really great option, but again, they're not super lean. Like chicken breasts are super lean, and we want to encourage folks to get some lean sources of protein. So, I like to choose both. I think chicken thighs are more flavorful and they're like not as expensive as chicken breasts, but I don't choose them all the time. I like to vary it up. Chicken breasts are one of the leanest proteins. Lean cuts of beef, think those cuts of beef that take a really long time to cook or marinate, those are going to be leaner. A ribeye is super fatty and you can throw it on the grill for 5 minutes and it's cooked beautifully because of that intramuscular fat. That's why it's super tender. Um, Pork tenderloin is actually almost leaner than chicken breast. They're pretty neck and neck. So pork tenderloin are a really great option, and I think they tend to not dry out as much. And pork doesn't need to be cooked at a higher temperature like chicken does. Chicken we cook to 165. Pork is about 145. Um, so sometimes people tend to overcook it. Yes, if you don't have yogurt, you can use other things to marinate. I don't know what like an actual equivalent yogurt marinade substitute would be, but I would look into like an acid-based one. You could just maybe skip the yogurt since there is a little bit of oil and we're using lemon juice as our acid there. So that could work. But you could definitely look into what would be a good option if I don't have yogurt. I don't know that off the top of my head, but I would probably defer to a vinegar acid um, type of marinade. Really great questions, everyone. Thank you. All right, now we need to make our sauce. But I think because we chatted for so long, I have 7 minutes left before I need to add my veggies. So let's go ahead and prepare our vegetables. We are going to be dicing and slicing some veggies up. So let's go ahead and get those ready so we can have that rolling. All right, so I have some bell peppers, and we're trying to eat the rainbow here. So I'm gonna go into strips here. I'm gonna try to stay on the thinner side. Not too terribly thin, but I want these to be well cooked and easy to eat. I almost think of this as a reverse kebab. Now, if I was putting this on the grill, I obviously could not leave them into strips like that or they'd fall through my grill plate. So you could use a grill basket. You could do a kebab like skewer. You could make like a tin foil packet. Slice these. Right. So we have an orange bell pepper, a red bell pepper, and now we're doing a yellow. Just putting my compost over there by the sink since my compost dish is full over here. Right, and we are baking this at 425, so hopefully we get some nice caramelization. We get that nice browning effect. Gonna get some good flavor. All right, we got a red onion. I like to cut down the center, keeping that root intact. I'm only gonna go for about half of my red onion. This is getting really sticky. I'm just gonna peel the outer layer. All right, so when I add this to the sheet, we're actually going to add some oil as well. I'm gonna wait till I add it on the sheet so that way I don't have oil everywhere. I think because my onion tends to require a little bit more than my pepper, I'm gonna cut them in half. And that way they're more distributed. Beautiful. And the last thing we have is a zucchini here. Cutting board's getting full, but I'm trying to minimize dishes. I know we all can appreciate that. So I'm going to cut down the center. Ooh, I can feel the onion in my eyes. 1 second. I know I said I was going to minimize dishes, but I am starting to tear up from the onion, and I don't want to do that while I have a knife. So I better get rid of those. It's always good to practice safety in the kitchen. Right, those are going to the side. It's a hit or miss on onions. I've seen some folks say putting it in the freezer helps. Some people say like a damp paper towel next to you. I've honestly never found anything that works.
What's worked best for me is it's like the peeling of it, I find. And if I do that under running water, peel the onion under running water, it usually doesn't make my eyes water. And if I don't do that, it's like really bad.
Yeah, okay. Maybe that's something I need to try. The only thing that I have actually ever done that successfully worked for me, and you can all laugh at me, but is I'll wear swim goggles because no matter what, my eyes will always water. I do think red onions are worse for me than something like a white onion. Um, I don't know if it's just, I don't know. I find that red onions are like a little bit more potent when they're raw. Um, so I don't know if that's the case, but um, yeah, I'll have to try that. Maybe that'll help. Now, when you cut it, does it help? Or just when you're peeling it?
just peeling because I don't know how you would cut it under running water, but
Yeah. No, I didn't think that you cut it under the water. I was just curious
oh,
if like the water had then helped with the cutting, or does the cutting still make your eyes water?
yes. So running it under the water while peeling it makes it so that when I cut it, it doesn't bother me.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. All right, I'm gonna have to give that a go. I will try anything. It's if your eyes don't water when you cut onions, you have a superpower.
Mine are so bad. It's like I can't even open my eyes at all. But the running water has helped a lot.
Yeah, I hear you there. I had to put those in there, or, everybody would think I was crying in class, but I could feel it coming on. Um, and I see someone said red onions are the only ones that burn my eyes. Yes, Mark, me too. I mean, they all do, but red onions, I think, are especially a little aggressive. Um, okay, 2C, I see you say the internet says buttermilk or sour cream. Absolutely. I think that's a great option. I also like never buy sour cream and I just use plain Greek yogurt, so that makes total sense. And buttermilk. Buttermilk is a great marinade. If you think of like buttermilk fried chicken, that's a big um, marinade for chicken. Ooh, put oil in the knife. Okay. I love it. Any other thoughts in the chat? Keep them coming, keep them coming if you have some more tried and true tricks. All right, so since we are waiting, we got about a minute left. No, I'm wrong. We have 10 seconds left. I'm gonna go ahead and put my oil on, a little bit of salt, pepper. There we go. I'll give it a quick mix and then I will add it to the tray. And my tray's rather large, so let me kind of move some things and we can add it on together over here. Lay it down. This smells so delicious. I can tell the chicken is starting to cook pretty well. I see the color is turning white. That's a good sign. Chicken usually goes from that like translucent pink color to white when it's cooked. Or I really recommend a digital thermometer if you're getting used to what cooked chicken looks like. And I'm just going to try to fill in here around it. We don't want to, stack everything on top. We want to try to spread everything out the best that we can. So that way, as these veggies cook, that moisture gets released. I do like this recipe as a sheet pan. A sheet pan meal is very nice for those busy weeknights. I'm sure we could all appreciate a quick, easy recipe during the week. All right, this is looking great. I'll wash my hands. We're going to put this back in the oven. All right, back into the oven we go. Chicken is cooking really well. I'll start off with, we'll do 12 minutes. All right, back into the oven we go. Now we have a kind of dip to make. Okay, so I'm going to check the chat here. Johnny says, in the past, I have set up my board on the range top under the range hood, which vents outside. I've now burned all of the onion receptors in my brain, so I don't have to bother. Well, that both of those work, Johnny. I think that's actually a really smart idea where it like pulls the fumes up. I unfortunately don't want to have all of those, but maybe one day I will be lucky enough to not have those onion receptors in my nose. Probably not, but I tend to find, and if anybody else wants to speak to this, I I have light colored eyes. I have green eyes. So I find that my eyes are super sensitive to like light and things like onions compared to my partner who has brown eyes. Um, he doesn't find it as he doesn't find it as difficult to cut onions. So I always wondered if it was just my light eyes or a little bit more sensitive in general. All right, so now we're gonna make our herby tzatziki. Um, I love, love, love tzatziki. It's a really great dip that you use for honestly adding to dishes like this, or even like you could dip vegetables in it. Super, super flavorful. I need to grab another bowl because I used the other bowl that I thought I wasn't going to use. So I'll be right back. And then we're going to make our tzatziki. All right. So for our tzatziki, we're going to need our yogurt back out and we're going to go in with 1 cup of yogurt. You can definitely cut this in half if you would prefer. Now this was the little stirring utensil that I used to stir the raw veggies with the um, oil and salt and pepper. So I'm just going to use that. It didn't touch any raw meat. I'm going to grab my spatula so we can get all that yogurt out of here. If you've never made tzatziki, I'm telling you, this is a really great protein-rich dip, super flavorful. I love it in dishes like this, or even just a really nice way to dip some cucumbers. Even though there's cucumber in it, I always love dipping cucumbers. Carrots, celery, honestly, a really great alternative when hummus doesn't sound good. All right, now I'm shredding my cucumber with my zester. If you have a shredder, that works too. You could also dice them super fine, but I really recommend something that you use to like shred cheese with. Um, the finer you can get it, the better it'll be dispersed, and we want that like cucumber juice released. Oops, unless I drop my cucumber in there first. Has anyone ever made homemade tzatziki before? Or familiar with yogurt-based dips, I should say. I know we did yogurt marinades.
I sometimes do a like very, very, very pared down version of this where it's like I'll just use yogurt and a bunch of dill and mix it together.
Yeah.
Gives kind of almost the same feel. It's not a full tzatziki sauce, but it gives like that, it gives that feeling of it.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think that's great. It's really giving that feel of tzatziki. Um, Honestly, with just having the dill in there, I think that's probably my favorite part. So I totally get that. Probably almost even reminds you of like, I think like a quick ranch too. Okay, Tusi does good old Trader Joe's. Johnny makes a Turkish yogurt, garlic, dill, olive oil sauce. That sounds absolutely amazing. Okay. And I'm not sure if I'm going to say your name correctly, so please correct me if I'm wrong. Um, Batian. I'm Haitian. It's a different kitchen.
Satan.
Phaeton.
This
Okay,
is
thank you.
Satan. Yes.
Perfect. Well, I'm so glad that this is maybe something new for you to see, but I'm sure you have lots of delicious recipes and sauces in your culture that are probably equally as amazing. That's
Yes,
why I
but
love.
this is the first time. This is the first time I'm just experiencing this kind of
Yeah,
food. But I'm just glad I am here.
absolutely. And I am so glad you are here. I hope you come to other classes.
Yes, I
We do.
already booked other classes.
Yay! Well, I love that. We try to just do a combination of lots of different cooking. Usually my go-to are quick, easy meals. I know we could all appreciate that are nutrient dense. I'm giving
Okay.
this chop. If anyone ever has any, suggestions, comments, recipes, things you'd like to see, please let me know in the chat. Um, our next quarter of classes will be, I believe it'll be October, November, December. Even though those holidays are coming up, usually I like to do more festive things. But I absolutely could change upcoming classes if there's a big request. All right, it said 2 tablespoons of dill and parsley, but I'm going to be honest, I think this is where all the flavor lies. So I did about 2 tablespoons of dill, and I'll do about 1 of parsley.
There's a Haitian inspired one of the cooking classes coming up.
Oh, beautiful. It's in person or is it a quick and tasty?
It has both options. It has an in-person option and a virtual option.
Perfect. Then I believe that'll be a quick and tasty with my colleague Gabby. I believe you can go in person, but everybody is welcome to watch virtually. So a great opportunity to learn some more about Haitian cuisine. And usually we have a member from the community that comes in and teaches those classes, representing that culture. So we usually learn lots and have really delicious foods. Those are usually around 12 to 1.
When the class will start.
I'm going to say it's probably starting at noon. They either start at 11, 12, or 1. But they will be on the BMC Teaching Kitchen class calendar. I can put that in the chat once we get further along. I'd be happy to, and you can check that out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I would do it now, but I will multitask and I will forget to come back and finish this. And we're almost done with our dip. So we're going to add some lemon juice. And I did zest my garlic there. Garlic powder also works. We needed just about a tablespoon, so I'm going to just do the half of it and see how it tastes and add more to taste. I also think this kind of sauce gets better as it almost like just sits and marinades in itself. All right. All right, I'm going to do a taste test. That's delicious. Definitely needs more lemon. And I think it's going to need a pinch of salt. I do like to lean on lemon juice and other acids before I lean in on sodium. Sometimes it can give us that same similar effect we're craving. All right, quick pinch of salt. Use the other side of my fork. Much better. Absolutely delicious. All right, I missed some stuff in the chat. Okay, Tusi would like to see more breakfast dishes. All right, Tusi, I love that idea. Ooh, and thank you, Tusi. All right, so we have Haitian-inspired tofu tacos at the end of the month. Okay, perfect. Oh, thank you so much, Tusi. She's on it. All right, so that link Tusi shared is how you can see any additional classes coming up. You're all welcome to attend any community classes that seem interesting to you. I'm so excited for this dip. I'm going to clean up this workstation because it's looking kind of crazy because we have about 3 minutes left before our vegetables could be done and we're going to check them. I'm going to guess they're going to need a few more minutes, but we're going to preemptively clean up here. And that's what I'd always recommend to folks is clean as you go. I can smell the oven and it smells so delicious. I can really smell that fragrant marinade. It was almost like Sorry, folks, that was probably loud. That yogurt created like that beautiful seal with all those flavors and those herbs and spices. All right, so hopefully it will be ready here shortly. So here's our dip. I'm gonna grab a plate so we can do our plating when it's ready. Okay, I second more breakfast options one. Okay, I love that. Deborah supports chocolate chip pancakes, and I love that, Deborah, and now I'm hungry for chocolate chip pancakes. Let me see if I can pull it up for you.
It's there. The dates are not in order, so you have to scroll past some of the August ones.
Oh, yes, perfect. Thanks, Tusi. Yep, so um, it'll be at the bottom. Yep, I think Gabby just added that recently, and I think she might not have seen that. When you put them on the back end, you kind of have to do them in a certain way. I do have for our next Well Sense class, we have chicken kebabs, and I realize we're basically making a deconstructed chicken kebab. So maybe I'll change that to a breakfast idea. I have a really fun recipe for like protein pancake muffins. That could be really fun. I know we all love a quick, easy breakfast. So maybe we'll do like 2 breakfast options next month instead of the chicken kebab, since we're basically making a chicken kebab now. Right, I'll show everyone what this looks like, and then we're going to temp our chicken. Right, this is looking so delicious, and I can tell it's super juicy. Where are we at? 159, 160 and climbing. All right, usually when you take meat off, it's going to do this thing called carryover cooking, where it will raise 5 to 10 degrees above what it was when it took out of the oven. Because if you think about it, it had all of that heat applied to it and all that energy is in the chicken. So it's still going to kind of keep climbing even after you take it out. And I'm sure, you've gone to take a bite of your chicken 5 minutes after it's come out of the oven and it's still really, really hot. So I'm sure that this is going to reach 165. I do just want to pop it in for 2 more minutes and I'm going to broil it just to see if I can get a nice crisp on these veggies and not dry this chicken out. So it is a perfect temperature where I could let it go, but I'm going to broil it just to see if I can get some more color on these veggies. All right, real quick broil while we're waiting for that. I'm going to serve this with a pita. I think a pita would be absolutely delicious with this. Some couscous. Honestly, whatever sounds good to you. I love, love, love a pita, especially with tzatziki. So I'm going to grab that. I had put it in the microwave for a minute to heat it up at the beginning of class. So it's probably just now heated up. Or I'm sorry, not heated up, but probably soft, not as firm as it was. So I'll pull it out and see if it needs another 30 seconds in the microwave. It definitely needed another 30 seconds. It was very hard again. So I popped it back in. Get some warmed pita. Yay, so now my pita is heated back up. Ooh, it's extra hot. Oh, it's stuck to my paper towel just a little bit. All right, my beautiful pita. You can tear in half. You can even stuff your pita. Now, these are whole wheat pitas that I got from Trader Joe's. Honestly, whatever pita you have. It doesn't have to be whole wheat, but I do love when I can find the whole wheat ones so I can get some more whole grains. They're going to be a bit higher in B vitamins, offer a little bit more fiber. All right, this is about to go off in 3 seconds, so I'm going to go grab it. We will put right here to the side. All right, this is looking absolutely amazing. I am so, so, so excited. I'm going to give that big piece of chicken one more temp. 163. Yeah, 164. And for chicken, as I mentioned, we cook to 165. 165, beautiful. You want to temp your biggest piece of chicken because if this is 165, this will easily be 165. Yeah, that's 175. 174. 167. Yeah, absolutely. All right, what do we think so far? This is a beautiful, beautiful array of colors. I'm so excited to get a small piece of chicken. Now, my veggies, I think I would love them if they were grilled and I baked my chicken. I love getting those grill marks, but my veggies are looking pretty soft. Maybe I would put them in earlier, but again, we don't want to too much overcook the chicken. So I think that this was a good place to stop. All right, and now we need some dip. Need some yogurt tzatziki. All right, we have our pita. We have our yogurt herby tzatziki. We have our chicken thigh and our roasted veggies on the side. Grab a fork and a knife and we'll cut some chicken. All right, I don't know about you, but this looks phenomenal. And this is pretty large, so I'm sorry if you can't see very well. There we go. All right, we'll cut this. This chicken's going to be extra hot, but you can see how easily I'm cutting it. You can see that flavor. That yogurt's still on there a little bit. Nice creamy sauce. Let's cut. We want a little bite of everything. That's what I call the perfect bite. So I think the perfect bite would involve the pita though. So we need to put our chicken, our veggie. Want a little onion in there. And a scoop of our yogurt dip. Spread it a little bit. All right. Going in for my first bite. I love, 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 love this dip. The chicken is so perfectly seasoned. Really moist, really tender.
What does it taste like without the dip?
So I definitely think the lemon juice is shining through, and I taste the oregano and the paprika. It has like a little creamy element, almost like it reminds me of a pasta dish that was in a cream sauce. A little tangy from the lemon, a little herby. This is super tangy. Like your sauce is going to be way more tangy and bright and fresh. This is warm, creamy, not crazy seasoned, like, oh my gosh, this is over seasoned. Just really good flavor. Very light. I taste the oregano. I taste a little bit of the lemon. I'm telling you that lemon zest makes a big difference. Really lovely. Honestly, that kind of marinade, even without the rest of this, which I would add the rest of this. Really, really good. I could probably cut this with my fork. Yeah. Chicken thighs are so tender. They're usually a pretty easy one. Dip is super tangy, really acidic,
Where
but
did
I
you
like
get
that.
those chicken thighs? I
I think
never
they're
see
just from
thighs
Walmart.
like that. I see the
Yeah.
bone-in ones, but I've never seen thighs like that, but it might be because I never looked for them.
Yeah, so they're boneless, skinless chicken thighs, and they'll be right next to, honestly, more where like the chicken breasts are. I think usually the skin on chicken is together and the skinless chicken is together. But boneless, skinless chicken thighs. And you can buy the bone-in skin on, and you can just honestly pull the skin off, leave the bone in, eat around the bone, even pull the bone out. Honestly, either works. Um, I'm checking the chat here. Johnny says, I notice you're grating the garlic instead of using a press. Is that a personal preference or a reason? Just a personal preference. I find that my like microplane zester is really versatile. I use it to zest lemons. I use it to zest garlic. I use it to, or I'm sorry, like grate garlic, to grate ginger, to grate my cucumber. So it's honestly the same concept as that, other than like rocking it. I'm just like the back and forth motion. So just preference. I have way too many pieces of kitchen equipment. All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and end the recording. I do just want to thank WellSense for sponsoring today's class. I'm going to end it so that way, in case anybody, who's been waiting to come off mute wants to. So thank you all for coming to class today.